State your name.
Joe CARN,
Do swear or affirm
do swear or affirm
that I will well and truly
that I will well and truly
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of Commissioner for Fulton County
of Commissioner for Fulton County
in all matters
in all matters
which require my official action
which require my official action
to the best of my knowledge
to the best of my knowledge
and skill,
and skill,
and I will so act
and I will so act
as in my judgment
as in my judgment
will be most conducive
would be most conducive
to the welfare
to the welfare
and best interests
and best interests
of the entire county.
of the entire county.
All right, thank you, Chair. Joe CARN, Fulton County Commissioner. When I first got sworn in, one of the things we talked about was working closer with our clergy, working closer with our church community. This is a prime example of that. We want to continue to set the example for this entire state and work to eradicate HIV and AIDS. Three of those evils, the stigma, shame, we want to make sure that these things are not part of our community anymore. And like Commissioner Hall said, we're going to do what we can to fund and make sure that we eradicate and set that goal for 2030 and make that happen in this county. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Carn.
A couple of things I did want to speak on in closing. We talked about PPE for the public earlier. Based on the number that Dr. Paxton gave us with the care packets, the PPE packs, $10 to $15 per pack. If we were to purchase packs for 200,000 residents, we have 1.1 million. If we purchase for 200,000 residents, that would equal to $3 million. I truly believe that our seniors throughout the entire county would really breathe a big sigh of relief if we were to earmark that $3 million for PPE for the taxpayers. So I'm going to suggest it again. I think $3 million is a reasonable number. We do not have to expedite it all. We can, hash it out as we go. But I think we need some type of assurance to the public that we're going to be looking out for them directly as our first responders. So again, I would recommend at least earmarking that money, even if we don't spend it all, towards PPE for our seniors. And that's in the form of a motion once again.
In District 6, the 9 mayors, they took a look at, collectively putting together a hate crimes stance throughout the cities. I don't think it went anywhere because they wanted a unanimous agreement on it, and it wasn't quite unanimous. It was very close, but I think this is a great step for us, and I'm 100% behind it. So glad to see it come up.
Element College Park. It increases the fines and penalties for drug violations. Obviously, it posts signage in and around the location, and given the area and the crime issues in the area, I think it's obviously well needed. I've seen drug transactions at bus stops and bus shelters along that area, and I think we just need to send a message, first of all, that we're going to be improving that area along with the airport improvements. I think this is an obvious no-brainer that I think everybody in every district would appreciate if they're coming in and around Fulton Industrial Boulevard.
Thanks for that.
$25 per resident allotment is, I don't think personally, is still enough for our cities. Obviously, the governor set the $174.50 mark. For all of the other cities are receiving that per individual. Our cities obviously are not. I think taking a look at another mark, perhaps a $50 mark at minimum, which would bring us up somewhere around 30 million for our cities, I think is something that we need to consider, considering all of our other cities in the state are receiving $174 per individual. We want voters to feel confident in this election in November. And I think as commissioners, all of us, we know our residents better than anybody.
So I want us to be hands-on with this and make sure when we're putting out the message that the message is digestible to everyone. I'm concerned that that message reaches our people that we want to reach countywide, north and south, white, black, young, and old. So I want to make sure we have some detail as we go along to this thing to make sure it's effective enough where it resonates with our constituents. So they're hearing us loud and clear, and they're not afraid to come and vote, and they're not worried about 5-hour line waits. I want to see from the other commissioners if there's some kind of interest in establishing some type of a municipal affairs director position of some sort. This position is, again, about relationships. And as we've seen over this year, I think we need to work on that. It's letting our cities know that they are important to Fulton County, and I think worthy of some type of a dedicated staff that would be committed daily to constant communications with our cities, within the schools within our cities, and the city's local concerns. One of the issues I do have is that the mobile voting locations I'm looking at here, in my opinion, are not fairly distributed at all here. Out of the 24 mobile locations, I count only 3 in the southern portion of Fulton County. And let me remind everyone, the vast majority of all of the elections issues that residents had to suffer with, the 5 plus 6 hour long wait lines, were all concentrated over 80% in the South Fulton cities. Now, we have 9 cities within my district alone, and out of 24 mobile locations, I count 3 in the southern portion of this county, and I think that is an unfair representation of the purpose of the mobile voting vans to the problem that they're supposed to solve. I mentioned before about talking to our mayors in the areas where the voter problems were most severe the last time, and that's going to include a good majority of my area. So I'd like to see a little more equity in terms of the mobile voting locations based on where the problems really have existed traditionally. We're going to start with the Board of Elections is here. They're going to give us a quick update with what's going on. And folks, we want everybody to try out the new voter machines are here. I'm going to say it again. The new voter machines are here. They're touchscreen with the paper trail, the paper verification, and he's going to come on up and give us some details on that. Let's give him a hand. Okay, a couple of additional things I wanted to speak on with senior services. Now, for me, that is one of my top priorities, making sure we have adequate funding for all of our senior services. We do have several budget enhancements in terms of senior services that we want to see in this budget as well. We're looking at a mammography van. This is where you can get breast exams. This is a crucial piece of equipment for our community. It comes with a doctor and the whole nine. It's funded, fully funded for that. We want to add that to our budget. Also, we have a dental van, and this is a rolling dentist system on wheels, basically. It can go throughout our communities when we have people in need. This is a free service with a licensed DDS dentist, and we're talking full service dentistry for our community for folks that really need it, that don't have insurance, that don't have transportation to the dentist, that cannot afford these things otherwise. And I'm not talking about dental cleanings. I'm talking about full service, root canals, the whole nine. These are much needed services in our community, so these are some additions we want to add to that budget as well. In addition to what you see in senior services, what you saw there, we have also added funding for a feasibility study for a multi-purpose senior center, a new multi-purpose senior center within District 6, within South County. So that is baked in the budget right now. We're working towards that and making sure that that's going to happen. And one of the things I was hoping for, I came into office at the end of the budget cycle. But I managed to work with my colleagues to make sure we got the funding in for the feasibility study for our senior center, our multi-purpose senior center in South County. So that's something we're going to definitely make happen. before we started, I wanted to omit, one of our city council members came in, and I definitely wanted to take a moment out to recognize her. Councilwoman Helen Willis is here from District 3. Stand up and be recognized. Let's give her a hand.
Well, at some point, that school was going to be built. And the school board says we got to build a new elementary school, right? So they say, well, what size school do we need to build? Well, they said, let's go grab that census data. Why? Because they want to see how many children are in the neighborhood. Does that make sense? Okay. So they say, well, there are 800 children in this school district, so we're going to build a school that'll hold 800 to 1,000 kids. Does that make sense? All right. A year later, the school building comes out the ground. First day of school, instead of 1,000 kids, 1,500 kids show up. And we wonder what happened. We put out trailers on the playground. And we drive by that school and we say, that doggone Fulton County, that school board, they tricked us again. Why are we overcrowded? Why don't we have enough books? Why do our desks and supplies wear out at our schools? Why does my child have 39 students to one teacher, whereas in other cities and areas, there are 15 children per one teacher? Well, a lot of it is because we opted not to count ourselves in our neighborhood and count our children, so they undersize the schools. A lot of things are determined by filling out this form, folks. We want nice restaurants in our community, white linen table restaurants. Is that right? How do you think a restaurant determines a location, folks? Well, they pull out that census data. They want to know where the people are. Does that make sense? And they look at where they want to locate, and they look at our neighborhoods and say, well, I don't think it's enough people to bother to build there.